Francis Curry, when is sec checking done? I know it's an integral part of the RPF, but do all Scientologists potentially get a taste of it if they screw something up? Is it integrated into the bridge at any point? Like, to proceed to OTN, you need X hours of sec checks. Is it just for Sea Org members, or can staff get it? I assume the public are not subject to it. Okay, Francis, thanks for the question. Actually, no. Public are subject to it. Every Scientologist gets sec checking. You get sec checks, and you get sec checks, and you get sec checks. Everybody gets sec checks. That's how it works in the world of Scientology. And there are two kinds of sec checks. Okay, and this is the important dividing line for security checking, is you get sec checks as part of your regular auditing going up the bridge, and there's many levels of the bridge where you're going to get sec checks, and I'll tell you about those in a second. And that kind of sec check is auditing, so it's not used against you. In other words, it's not like, then there's the second kind, which is investigatory security checking, and that's where an investigation is being done, and that's where it can be used against you. So the difference is that the procedure is exactly the same in both ways that it's used, except for what happens after the session. If you go in to a regular sec check that's just being done for auditing purposes, then the auditing gets done, the questions get asked, very invasive personal questions. But after the session's over, no reports get written, you don't go to the ethics officer, the case supervisor just says, okay, that's good, signs it all off, and away you go. And unless you're admitting to committing literal crimes in present time, you're gonna sail through okay. If it comes up that you are actually committing real world crimes, like you're embezzling money from your company, or you're committing adultery on your wife or husband, right, or your spouse, or, engaging in some form of, child abuse or something, then the case supervisor is probably going to go, hey, this guy's got an ethics problem, and stop the auditing at that point and ship you over to ethics, and the ethics officer is going to have a little conversation with you and put you on a meter and do an interview with you and get you to cough up the things you already said in your confidential session, so the ethics officer can then deal with it and deal with you and get you to stop committing crimes, because the church isn't so much concerned about the crimes you're committing as they are the potential PR backflash on the church if you were to be exposed, in public, right? That could be a problem. So that's how you could end up in ethics from a regular security check that you get as the regular course of your auditing. Otherwise, you're left alone and you just move on up the bridge, right? You'll get sec checked at grade 2. If you haven't been sec checked yet, definitely by the time you get to grade 2, that's all about security checking and overts and withholds, and you'll be getting a lot of it there. And then after you go get up to the state of clear, there's a little sec check in there, and then before you go on to the OT levels, you have what's called OT eligibility, and those are sec checks. And that's public, staff, Sea Org, everybody has to go through all those sec checks. That's just part of getting up the bridge. And if you once you start on the OT levels, you have to do 1, 2, and 3, boom, boom, boom. There's no breaks on 1, 2, and 3. So you get your OT eligibility done, and you're cleared to start the OT levels. You do OT 1, 2, and 3, and then if you take a break for any reason, you go home, take 6 months off, pay, make money so you can pay for your OT 4. You come back, you're going to have to do a new verification, a new OT eligibility sec check, and they're going to check you over again. And it probably will go fairly quickly, but they are still going to charge you for it and do it. And then you do your OT 4, let's say. And then you finish, and you don't have the money to get on to OT 5, so again, you go home, you're gone for a year, you come back, you're going to get another eligibility sec check, right? And you're going to do that one. And then let's say you finish OT 5 and you go straight to flag, and you get onto your OT 6. Well, you're going to get an eligibility sec check because you went from a lower org to flag. And so for that reason, they're going to give you another verification sec check. And so basically any excuse they can to charge you for the sec checks, they're going to charge you, right? Because then you get on to OT 7, let's say you finally make it to 7 and you go home and you're auditing on OT7 every day, multiple times a day. Every 6 months, you have to go back to flag and do what's called a refresher. And that's another sec check. So there's lots and lots of sec checking for all Scientologists. Now, if you're getting an investigatory sec check, the second way of doing sec checks, then that means they're investigating your ass. And that means that there's probably trouble ahead for you. And you go in and you get the sec check, same procedure, but when you come out, a report is written detailing all the things you said, and you go to the ethics officer and you have to deal with that, right? Doesn't matter what you were saying in your sec check, whether it was good, bad, or sideways, whether it was present time criminal activity or not. That it doesn't matter what it is. If you're being investigated, if it's an investigatory sec check, then you're going to go see the ethics officer afterwards, and it's not confidential. And they tell you at the beginning, I'm not auditing you, right? This is an HCO style confessional or an investigatory style confessional, right? And then you go and you do the procedure. So that's kind of how it all works, and I hope that clarifies some things for you.